Don't move. That's the first thing I heard as I stood in line at my local bank on what I thought would be just another ordinary Tuesday morning. People froze, whispers spread, and within seconds, 3 police officers stormed in. Their eyes locked on me, a black man, dressed casually, holding a check I had just received from a property sale. At first, I thought there must be some kind of mistake. Surely, they weren't here for me. But then, the bank manager pointed straight at me and shouted, "That's him. He's trying to commit fraud." The officers surrounded me, hands on their weapons. People in line pulled out their phones, recording, whispering. And me. I just stood there, calm, almost too calm for someone being accused of a federal crime. Why? Because I knew something that nobody else in that room knew. The morning had started off simple enough. I had sold a piece of family property, a small farm we'd held for generations, and the buyer paid me with a cashier's check. I walked into the bank, filled out the deposit slip, and waited for my turn. The moment I handed the check to the teller, though, her face changed. She glanced at the check, then at me. She excused herself and walked straight into the manager's office. I could see them whispering, pointing, and suddenly, the manager picked up the phone with this smug expression, like she had just caught a criminal mastermind. When she came out, she didn't talk to me. She just looked around like she was waiting for something big to happen. That's when the police arrived. "Sir, put your hands where we can see them," one officer barked. The room went silent. My heart was pounding, but I didn't argue. I raised my hand slowly, locked eyes with the officer, and said, "I think you're making a very big mistake." The bank manager stepped forward, waving her arms dramatically. He tried to deposit a fake check for over $200,000. "Arrest him before he runs." People gasped. To them, I must have looked guilty already. Black man, large check, police swarming. It was like a scene out of a movie. One of the officers grabbed my arm, reaching for the cuffs. But then, everything changed. Before he could cuff me, a 4th officer walked in. But this wasn't just any officer. This was someone different. He wore a plain suit, carried himself with authority, and immediately demanded, "What's going on here?" The bank manager rushed over, eager to look important. "We caught him trying to deposit a fraudulent check. I called you to take him in. He's probably part of some scam ring." The suited man turned his head slowly toward me, studied me for a moment, and then, something in his eyes shifted. He stepped closer and said, quietly but firmly, "Agent Johnson?" The entire room froze. I gave a small nod. "Good morning, Agent Miller." And just like that, everything flipped upside down. The officers who had been ready to cuff me instantly backed off. Their posture changed. Their hands dropped from their weapons, and they stood at attention. The casual arrogance in their eyes turned into pure respect. The bank manager's jaw dropped. She looked back and forth, confused. "Agent? What do you mean, agent?" Agent Miller gave her a look so sharp it could have cut glass. "Ma'am, do you have any idea who you just tried to accuse?" She stammered. He had a suspicious check. I was just doing my job." Agent Miller didn't even let her finish. "This man is not just a law-abiding citizen. He is one of the highest-ranking FBI officials in this region. And you just tried to have him arrested because you made an assumption." The entire bank went dead silent. The officers now addressed me with the kind of respect you'd give a general. "Sir, our apologies. We didn't realize." I held up my hand. "You were just doing your job. But next time, maybe confirm before you try to ruin someone's life." The bank manager, on the other hand, was pale. She started mumbling excuses. I didn't know. I just thought." I finally turned to her, calm but firm. "You thought wrong. And your prejudice nearly cost you your job, and a lawsuit for this bank." The customers, who had been whispering and filming, now looked at me with wide eyes. Some even nodded with quiet respect. The man they thought was a suspect turned out to be the very person the police themselves answered to. The bank manager tried to recover. "I was only following protocol," she insisted. But Agent Miller shut her down immediately. "No. What you followed was your bias. Protocol would have been to verify the check through the system, not jump to conclusions and call in a false report. You wasted resources, humiliated a man in front of a crowd, and insulted someone who has given decades of service to this country." Her face turned beet red. She couldn't even look at me anymore. I didn't stay much longer after that. The check, of course, cleared without issue. But the story didn't end there. A week later, I heard that the bank manager had been reassigned. Translation: she'd been fired. And not just because of me. Turns out, she had a history of suspicious behavior when dealing with certain types of customers. My case was just the one that finally caught up with her. As for the officers, they reached out to me personally, apologizing for the way they handled things. I accepted. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't about them. It was about the arrogance of one person who thought her assumptions were more powerful than the truth. So what's the takeaway here? It's simple. Never underestimate someone. The bank manager thought she had all the power. She thought her position, her assumptions, and her quick call to the police would prove her right. She believed that by raising her voice and pointing a finger, people would automatically see her as the authority and me as the criminal. But what she didn't realize is that respect isn't something you demand with a title or a uniform. It isn't earned by sitting behind a desk, wearing a badge, or having the loudest voice in the room. Real respect comes from integrity, from fairness, and from treating others with dignity, no matter who they are. And here's the irony. The very man she dismissed as a fraud, the one she was so quick to accuse, turned out to be the one person in that entire building who outranked everyone. The FBI agents didn't stand at attention for her. They didn't rush to her defense. They stood at attention for me, the man she thought was beneath her. That's the danger of prejudice. It doesn't just harm the person you target. It ends up exposing you. It shows the world your ignorance, your arrogance, and your unwillingness to see beyond stereotypes. In trying to humiliate me, the bank manager humiliated herself. And the lesson goes far beyond this one story. How many times in life do we dismiss people because of the way they look, the clothes they wear, or the job they do? How often do we assume we're better than someone without knowing their history, their struggles, or their achievements? The janitor you ignore might be a retired soldier who sacrificed everything for his country. The quiet man at the bus stop might be a decorated professor. The neighbor you underestimate could be a leader who's done more for your community than you'll ever realize. That's why humility matters. That's why respect matters. Because you never truly know who someone is, or what they've done, until life gives you a moment that reveals the truth. For that bank manager, her truth came out in front of an entire crowd. She thought she was exposing a criminal, but instead she exposed her own bias. And while my respect remained intact, hers evaporated in an instant. So the next time you feel tempted to judge someone based on their skin, their clothes, or even the size of the check they're holding, remember this story. Because the person you look down on might be the very person who outranks you in every way that matters: character, service, and honor. And that's how a bank manager calling the FBI on me ended not with my downfall, but with her embarrassment. And a powerful reminder for everyone watching: the truth always wins.